What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Critical Overlord here. We're going to be talking about several different horror topics in this video here today. We'll be talking about Friday the 13th, Scream 7, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Saw 11. So let's talk about Friday the 13th to start this off. So Mike P. Nelson had an interview with Bloody Disgusting recently discussing his recent short film Sweet Revenge that came out last week to very mixed reviews. He's open to continuing this story if the opportunity presents himself. That's what I wanted to address. He states that he'd be very happy to continue this story of Sweet Revenge if the opportunity presented itself. I think it'd be fun to see what happens next between Jason and a character like Eve. That would be something that I'd be very interested in seeing and would obviously love to be a part of it. Then the actress who played Eve said, "Mike, you really have been training for your whole life for this without realizing it. You're the perfect person to do this. I love Eve. I love what we made, and I would love to continue it for sure." He then goes on to say it creates a new tale without diverting from the original material, and that is, I think, where Jason and Friday the 13th need to go. It's what would get me excited, and I feel like it's what's going to get other people excited. Well, it does divert from the original material to a degree, because the assumption we can make based on Eve's apparent possession is that Crystal Lake isn't your average lake. It just depends on how you look at it, because you could argue Jason is possessing her, but then that sounds like Jason Goes to Hell, which is a terrible movie, one of the biggest low points in the franchise. The other perspective would mean Jason isn't the one in control and undermines his role at the table with the big three. It's very funny when you think about it, how Freddy is the only one who kind of stands on his own as being crazy at the table without any outside influence. Jason and Michael, if they went down this route with Jason and Michael always seem like they have to have someone or something controlling them. Michael with the Thorn cult, and now Jason with this lake. I like the angle in Sweet Revenge, but the more I look back, I don't want Jason to be undermined in this way. So while it was interesting, as time went on, and I think a few of you pointed this out in the comment section, I'd have to agree. You're kind of taking Jason and then saying, oh, he's under the influence of something, and that kind of makes it like, no. That's not the mama's boy I know and love. The mama's boy I know and love is acting on his own accord. He's just batshit crazy. Leave that alone. But I appreciate his sentiments and his thoughts about wanting to continue it if the opportunity presented itself. Let's talk about Scream 7. So Scream 7 is rumored to include 40 minutes of screen time for Sidney Prescott, and that's got fans excited. Courtney Cox, Gale Weathers apparently has about 20 minutes of screen time. Here's the thing. What is she doing for those 40 minutes? That's what matters. Ever since Scream 2, I feel like this franchise has struggled to balance supporting cast and Sidney. Sidney's best work is Scream 3 for me, despite that also being the weakest overall film. But after Scream 2, the supporting cast hasn't been as exciting because of them being disconnected from Sidney. Scream 3 is the stab cast, nothing to do with Sidney, not friends or relatives in any way. Scream 4 is mostly Jill's friends, Kirby being the standout, but again, no real close immediate ties to Sidney. 5 gives us all new leads. 2 had it easy because it was Sidney and her college friends. Very simple narrative for audiences to be given a chance to connect with Derek, Hallie, Mickey, Randy once again. 7 could suffer from failing to find that balance between Tatum's friends and Sidney. I can only hope that Sidney's material is so good that I excuse the one-dimensional nature of Tatum's friends. I'd just like to feel something when these people die is all. Even Wes in Scream 5 was heartbreaking due to how that scene was set up. I'm also not going to jump for joy over 40 minutes. I'll jump for joy on how she's used for said 40 minutes, not how long I can see her. Thankfully, the rumors that have been coming out, and even ones that aren't out yet, make me hopeful for this new Sidney story. And we also got our first bit of photos from the Your Favorite Scary Movie novel that's coming out. There was also some interviews from Chris Landon elaborating on when he decided to exit the franchise, all tied to Melissa Barrera, and some other stuff from Jasmine Brown. But you got our first look at, I think this is Sidney's house. Shout out to everyone who's been posting these photos. I wanted to talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer next. So Charisma Carpenter was on TikTok and had to address her status with the reboot once again, because she's constantly being asked a question. She addressed it on TikTok saying, "Hey, I get asked this a lot. Are you doing the reboot?" And I thought I would address it. I am not in the reboot. I am not in the pilot. I don't even know if the show has been picked up to go to series. I assume it will be. It was not intended to sound coded in any kind of way. This is related to her podcast announcement, alluding to the fact that I was admitted to being in the reboot. People were also then commenting, "Oh, is this, are you saying like it was an Easter egg a la Taylor Swift?" Not at all. She goes on to say she hasn't had any type of conversations with the powers that be to get involved with this reboot. And all I have to say to that is she's not lying. She's not lying. There is nothing in what I have seen that has Cordelia Chase. That does not mean that Cordelia Chase can't be written into the pilot. But there's also no reason for Cordelia Chase to be in this pilot. There's not any reason for anybody that's not Buffy Summers as of right now, until proven otherwise, to be in this pilot. Not at all. They need to establish and make people care about these new characters. That is what you've creatively decided to do. Stick to that. Stick to that. Lay in the bed that you're deciding to make for yourself. And then bring in the legacy characters the way Sarah Michelle Gellar has expressed would be the right way to do. You need to make us care about these newbies first. Cordelia Chase, as much as I wouldn't mind seeing her, I have just accepted the fact that they unfortunately killed her. The only way I would want to see her back is in some sort of wish verse or acknowledging the PTB for the very first time in Buffy. The only time they acknowledge that stuff is on Angel. They can acknowledge her that way in this show. Talk to the higher beings. Cordelia is one of them. That's how you can get Cordelia involved into the mix. Now, let's talk about Saw 11. So Oren Coles talked about the scrap plans for Saw 11 with Comic Book recently. He said, Mark and I had a difference of opinion about how Saw 11 would be. It's really too bad. We had everybody in it, including Genevieve, obviously that's who played Cecilia in Saw X, the Saw X villain who plays Cecilia. Coming back from Saw X, she's amazing. The script that we had was going to take place 30 seconds after Saw X ended. It's just too bad we had a difference of opinion and we couldn't resolve it. So that's like our first bit of details on how Saw 11 would have started. But going off of this and the comments that he made when the announcement came out about Blumhouse being in the mix, I'm going to have to just assume we're not going to get a Tobin Bell-centered film for Saw 11 whenever it comes out. We're not doing that. James Wan and Lee Winnell, I trust that they are coming up with something that moves the franchise forward in a way that audiences are ready to connect with, because Saw can live on without Tobin Bell. We just don't need John Kramer. We don't need him all the time. The fact that they failed to come up with somebody is what's going to hurt the franchise when we can no longer have John Kramer. So we need to start preparing for that now. We have to. If you want to keep seeing more Saw, if you're someone who wants more quantity over quality, I'll say, not that you can't have both, then you have to accept that you can't just keep going back to the well of John Kramer. That's not going to last. They have to start doing other things. And I trust that James Wan and Lee Winnell are the right two people to lead whoever writes this film, if not them, down the right direction when it comes to concocting something that can be a suitable replacement to the legacy of John Kramer. Something that will make us not go back and say, oh, we need to bring John Kramer back. Something that will make us go, okay, we're down for this new ride. Keep giving us more. Thank you for listening to this video. If you haven't already, of course, make sure you subscribe, turn on post notifications. Your name is video in the description. I have links to all my social media accounts. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can message me there, of course. Let me know any movies, news, or reviews like me to cover in the future. And with all that in mind, guys, I will see you in the next video.